What's good, everyone? What is up? Welcome back to the Auto 101. Now, thanks to the lovely people over at Mazda Canada, for the last week, I've had the opportunity to drive a brand new 2022 Mazda CX-5 Signature. So the Mazda CX-5 is actually a very critical product for Mazda. You see, it's their main entry into the compact crossover, compact SUV kind of space, which is a huge segment, huge market. Everyone these days wants to get themselves into a compact SUV. So you can see how this is an important product for Mazda. And for 2022, a lot of meaningful updates have been given to the CX-5, which we'll go through in this video. As I've been driving this car for the last week or so, I've come to a realization. So the car is positioned and priced very much like a mainstream crossover SUV. However, I feel from driving it and the experience you get, it's actually closer to a luxury SUV, which is crazy to see from the price point. So what I want to do is I'll go through this video and I'll try to explain what I mean and why I feel this is actually more of a luxury compact SUV than a mainstream compact SUV, and why it's such a bargain, which I'll tell you at the end. So stay tuned, find out, and let's go through it. First things first, let's start off with the powertrain. So standard for 2022 now, every single Mazda CX-5 comes standard with the iActive all-wheel drive system, which, I don't know, in Canada, that is, I can't even begin to explain how clutch that is, because we just get dusted. We get destroyed with snow every single winter, and having standard all-wheel drive really, really, truly helps. And by the way, not all competitors give it a standard at the starting price of this car, so keep that in mind. But the Mazda CX-5 has it a standard, which is great. In terms of engines, the base engine is a 2.5 liter four-cylinder, very typical stuff, very standard stuff, 186 horsepower, 186 pound-feet of torque, and the fuel economy is also pretty comparable to what you'd get in the segment. I'll put it down here. But, and this is a big but, what really elevates this car from that mainstream crossover segment to that luxury crossover segment for me is the choice of that second powertrain that you have, the second engine option. And that is basically the same engine. It's a 2.5 liter four-cylinder engine. However, this time it's been turbocharged. Now, in my opinion, I feel like the bigger engine is actually a pretty meaningful upgrade. With premium fuel, you get 256 horsepower, and here's the real kicker, 320 pound-feet of torque. That is a lot of torque. So there's a lot of low-end grunt for this engine, a lot of low-end push when you're driving, and it's nice. And what's great about the turbo engine in the CX-5 is that it also runs on regular gas. On regular gas, there's a bit of a drop in terms of power. You go down to 226 horsepower, but you don't really lose that much in terms of torque. It goes down to 310 pound-feet of torque, which is still a lot. So you still get the benefit of that grunt, the benefit of that torque, that torquey turbo engine, without really having to pay for premium gas, which is awesome right now because, I mean, we all know gas prices have been going crazy, so what's not to love about that? And what I feel really elevates the CX-5 to being more of a luxury competitor is the fact that that bigger engine is offered. A lot of the competition, a lot of the mainstream competition only offers kind of an entry-level four-cylinder engine. So having that larger four-cylinder engine in this car, in the same turbo 4 configuration that's very commonly used in terms of luxury compact crossovers, gives it something special. It's a little bit nice to have. You want a bit more power, and it's good that the CX-5 offers that option. So now let's talk about what I feel is pretty important in the car, because that's where my love for cars way back when I was a kid began, and that is styling. Now, I've always been a fan of Mazda's current generation of styling. So what they call it is Kodo design. They've had this design policy or design concept for a while now, and over time they keep evolving it and iterating upon this Kodo design theme. So in its current iteration or current evolution, they've really focused on eliminating creases, eliminating character lines, eliminating unnecessary cuts, and focusing more instead on the surfacing of the car to show tension and movement just through the way that the body panels are shaped. And I think it looks fantastic, honestly. I always liken it to what's that? What do you call that? Like when you're designing a pot, like a clay pot class. You know how you're using your hands to kind of shape the clay to make a pot? That's kind of what I think of Mazda's current design. It's kind of like shaped by hand and surfaced by hand, and harkens back to a time when cars were designed with pen and paper as opposed to using software. So for 2022, there's been a couple of styling changes that Mazda has done for the CX-5. They've changed the front end around, so now there's a bigger chrome piece on the grille. Kind of looks a little bit beefier, a little bit chunkier. It looks nice. The headlights have also been updated, so now each of the lights has kind of like a twin lamp motif inside of them, so adds a little bit more dimension, a little bit more depth to each of the headlights. Looks nice. Similarly in the back, the surfacing has been changed around a little bit on that tailgate, and the lamps have also been updated, just like the front, to have a twin lamp motif in each of the taillights. So definitely a nice look, a nice advancement. It's basically what we already know and love about the CX-5, just changed and massaged slightly to make it more modern. Welcome back, and welcome to tomorrow. What happened is my camera basically shut off yesterday because it got too hot and it stopped functioning. It's been so hot in Ontario this year. It just feels like a super hot summer, and we've had no reprieve from the heat, so it's just crazy hot. Yesterday it was 33 degrees. Today it's 34. Those are numbers without humidity, and with humidity it's crazy hot. Anyways, let's continue on with the video. So let's jump on into the interior. First and foremost, from a quality perspective, it is sublime. It's what's that word for like very rich? Sumptuous? I think that's the word. It's very sumptuous in here, especially in this signature trim. You have this genuine matte finish wood, which they call abachi wood, which feels very nice. There's real metal trim work everywhere, which also feels cold to the touch. Not on a hot day like today, but on a normal day when you're using your AC, it feels nice and cool and high quality. And also, what I find to be really nice is that the whole interior is just covered in leather. The dash is leather, the top of the doors here are leather, the steering wheel is a very nice leather, the gear shift is a very nice leather, and then some critical points of the interior like the seats, the armrest, the center console armrest, and some padding right around the console here in the middle is covered in genuine Napa leather. And the signature, it's in this cocoa Napa leather. Looks very rich, very chocolatey. Makes the whole interior look very, very nice. And there's also nice trim pieces here and there, like there's Bose speakers in the signature, so you get some Bose trim and Bose branding. There's LED lights everywhere in the signature as well, so in the footwell, and there's some kind of LED vanity lighting all over the place, which also looks really, really nice. So from a quality perspective, the interior is definitely very high-end, and it's also definitely very premium, and most definitely a step above the mainstream compact crossover class. For me, I would take the higher quality of the CX-5 cabin over the more modern styling of some of its competitors, but it definitely is a point to consider. And just while we're on the topic of the interior, let's also talk about overall comfort when you're driving. So in the driver's seat here, I'm very comfortable. I'm 5'10", and I've been able to set up the position very well. What I like about the CX-5 is that it feels nice and sporty because I feel low in the cabin, but because of the overall positioning of the car, it feels high enough where I feel like I'm in an SUV as well. So that's a nice balance, because sometimes I find in an SUV you sit high so you don't get that sporty feeling, and then if you sit low you don't get the advantage of an SUV. So this is a nice balance. I also really enjoy the amount of space that was found in the back. Likewise, there's also a ton of cargo space in the back. The seats can fold all the way flat for the rear seats, so you have extra cargo space if you want it. So for anything you want to put back there, should not really be a problem, shouldn't really be an issue, and I would say it's fairly competitive in its class. Small little tidbit, I can never really get the vents to adjust properly to blow into my face. I don't know if that was just my seating position or if that's anecdotal, but I always found that my head was getting a little bit hot in this heat, and the vents would blast a little bit lower on my body. Again, that's obviously very, very based on your body structure and the way you like to sit, but just something I noted. Now, another thing people like to consider when they're shopping for a compact crossover is the feature set in the car. And that's another area where I feel the CX-5 really genuinely shines. Any possible luxury car feature you could imagine is present in this car. I'll run down a list of a few of them, okay? So you have a heads-up display, cooled seats in the front, heated seats in the back, wireless charger right here, and it easily fits my 12 Mini, no problems at all. Napa leather seats, like I mentioned earlier, very comfortable, very soft, very supple, love them. Heated steering wheel, very nice. 360-degree camera, and it's a very high resolution, very nice camera, which has been super convenient for parking. Definitely love that camera, definitely love that feature as a whole. The signature model also has a drive mode switch, so you can put it into sport mode, you can put it into a mud and snow mode. Quite a large 10.25-inch infotainment screen in the middle. It's not a touchscreen, it has a swivel wheel on the bottom. I like that because I don't like fingerprints on the screen, but I could definitely see how it may not be as convenient as just using a touchscreen. So that's something to consider, but a nice high resolution screen nonetheless. What I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of nice luxury kind of features and amenities in this car, which add to the premium look and feel of this cabin. Speaking of features, let's talk about active safety. Active safety is standard in the CX-5 range. As you move up the trim levels, you get some extra bits added on. So here in the Signature, we're rocking with the full suite, the full active safety suite. So you got radar cruise control, driver stop and go awareness, driver awareness to see how aware the driver is while driving. Oh my God, I'm repeating words like crazy. But that's there. Obviously, cross traffic alert, blind spot monitoring, lane keep assist. Really, any feature you can imagine from the active safety system is present in this car. Maybe I'll put a list here of all the features, so you could pause the video right now if you want to see all the active safety features that are included. Now let's talk about the drive, which is also a pretty critical thing for any car. And once again, I feel like it's an area that the CX-5 excels in. So Mazda, in my opinion, and from my experience, is quite well known for having a engaging driving experience, which caters towards the enthusiast driver or people who prefer a sportier kind of drive and sportier feel. And the CX-5 is no exception. It handles well. It doesn't feel too floaty. It doesn't feel too bumpy. Driving this on the highway is very smooth, very comfortable. It handles potholes well. You never really feel like it's a very jarring or uncomfortable experience, which is great because that's kind of what you want in an everyday compact crossover, right? You want that comfort and you want that just like that nice driving experience, which is definitely the case with the CX-5. And I think kind of the dichotomy, or where the flip side of that, where some cars don't excel very well, is in terms of back road driving or sporty driving. And I think that's where the CX-5 has done such a good job, because it could go from driving comfortably on the highway to almost seamlessly becoming a sports car on back roads. We don't have the best back roads in this part of Ontario that I'm in, but there are a couple. So I've been driving through them for the last week or so, trying to see what the limits of the CX-5 are. And I have thoroughly enjoyed myself because this car handles basically like what you would expect from a sports car, and that's what you'd expect from Mazda. It's very planted, it's very sure-footed, it doesn't exhibit too much body roll when you're pushing it through a corner. You put it through sport mode and it holds the revs a little bit longer, and it changes the throttle response just a bit, so that also helps with the sporty driving feel. And what I think from this whole situation gives it a premium feel is actually the steering feedback. So these days with electrically assisted steering, a lot of the times it's very light, which is convenient for day-to-day driving, but on a back road that ends up feeling a little bit lifeless. However, Mazda has put in some really nice weighting on the steering wheel, and because of that, it feels really rewarding to drive on a back road. You know, you feel some feedback from the steering wheel, and that makes you feel like you're in a bit of a sports car. Gives it more of that premium luxury kind of feel. So I think Mazda has done an excellent job with the CX-5 of not only making sure it's great on road, on the highway and day-to-day driving, but also it's excellent when you're trying to push it and have a little bit of fun. So shout out to Mazda for doing that with a compact SUV. I think it's really great. All right, so in conclusion, what do I think? Do I really think that the CX-5 is that real luxury bargain that I said it would be? Well, in my opinion, I think it is. And we kind of walk through why. So firstly, you know, you get that nice and powerful second engine option, which really helps with providing just a bit more gusto than some of its competition. You get standard all-wheel drive, which is great. You also have a superbly crafted interior, super fine materials, super nice finishes. Everything's put together very nicely, which is great. Then you have a full set of features which have been executed very nicely. So all the luxury features you could imagine in a luxury car are present in this car, which is great. Then from a road feel perspective, you also have, you know, that heft and that significant driving feel and driving feedback that you'd expect from a sports car or from a bit more of a sporty car, which is also, I think, a very strong point of the CX-5. So I think all these factors put together make it a very attractive luxury proposition, and the bargain piece comes in when we talk about the price. So in Canada, this car starts from just around $30,000 Canadian. I'll put the price right here. And the signature trim I'm in right now is around $43,000, which I also put right here. And for that price, for $43,000, I mean, you can't really go wrong. That's a lot of stuff you're getting for $43,000. If you want this level of equipment in something like an X3, you're probably looking at closer to $70,000. So that's where that bargain piece comes in, because you're getting a very similar feel when you're driving and a very similar feature set for almost 30K less. I don't know, that sounds like a bargain to me. Let me know what you guys think. Drop a comment below. Do you like the CX-5? What's your favorite compact crossover? Maybe mainstream and luxury. You could put both of them down there. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next time. And as always, I appreciate the support. Take care.